What's up YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr with another live duel from locals. So on the left we've got myself playing the Light and Darkness Ritual deck, and on the right hand side we have Sky Strikers starting us off by activating Pot of Desires. Risk or reward. So this is the first time of me actually playing the Light and Darkness deck. This does involve the Fallen and the White package leading through to Crimson King. So our opponent's going to start off by normal summoning down the Ray, activate Maul Charmy Forloss, chain the Ray, and then we chain another Maul Charmy Forloss, and then they have the Call by the Grave. So we're going to get like legit nothing. So they were trying to hold back the Call by the Grave for a different kind of point, but yeah, Call by the Grave on the Maul Charmy is pretty powerful, not gonna lie. Going into 0, obviously getting no draws here whatsoever, but that's absolutely fine. And it's all about what Sky Striker can build from this point on and how good my hand is after that point. So pretty premium opening here. Whether that Forloss came off of the back of the Desires or not is a different story. Just considering what to use here, it does look like I'm going to utilize the Harmonia here. Harmonia entering the field of play. At this point, there's really no point in sending a Malong or a Pat Bit or something that would directly interact with my opponent's field. So I might as well interact with put the Pegasus Agnister into the graveyard, destroying the 0, and then my opponent gets to look at my hand because they do have Triple Tactic Talents. They put back I'm not too sure what they put back. I literally just missed it. Because I'm pretty sure they leave me with the Summon Skull or the Skull Archery of Chaos. Then we're going to activate Engage. We do have 3 Shabal cards in the graveyard, so we all know what that means. A search and a draw. So you're going to get a decent amount of advantage off the back of this. And now with pretty much 1 card in hand plus the top deck, it's going to snowball in a negative way for myself. So setting 1, utilizing linkage, so linkage on linkage, getting access to Kagari, and there's no other option here apart from the Engage. Engage, search, anchor, get a draw. And it's actually a really interesting matchup for the Light and Darkness because a lot of the Sky Striker cards, the consistency to get to Widow Anchors, very powerful, but then also the fact that they play Fallen the Virtuous that targets, and they also play the Widow Anchor that targets. It's actually quite effective for the deck to try and out the Light and Darkness strategy, just for the pure fact that their complete Light and Darkness are unaffected apart from stuff that targets it, which is exactly what Sky Strikers do. So the Fredrolos Harmonia has been destroyed by the Fallen and the Virtuous. In turn, I can use the Ignister, which gets rid of the Ray, or gets the Ray to come back, gets rid of Kagari, and then we're going into the Prototype with 3 set cards and then an additional search for the Fallen and the Virtuous. So 4 set cards, and I've got to deal with that on my top deck. And I think my card left in hand might have been the Maul Charmy Forloss, like a 3rd Forloss. My opponent put the Skull Archery of Chaos back into the deck. So using the Fallen and the White Dragon, we're going to be sending the Albion, trying to use the effect here. I would be amazed if it resolves. Widow Anchor, and I'm like, yeah, cool, scoop out. That Call by the Grave on the full wall was massive. So then we're going to go first this time. So I'm just going to activate the Ragged Rites of Records, revealing the ritual spell, adding the Griffo. Griffo is going to be utilized here straight away to get access to Mind Shuffle. Obviously sets the Mind Shuffle, so very important on that one. And then I just declare that I'm activating Mind Shuffle at the exact same time to do the search. Grabbing the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. Then, of course, discarding the Skull Archery of Chaos because I already have it in the hand. Grabbing the Ritual back, grabbing the Griffo, utilizing the Griffo for the whole kind of cost for the Ritual summon here, while still maintaining it in the graveyard. Using the Magician to add back the Ragged Records of Rights. And then at this point, I've got the Crimson Call stuck in my hand, which isn't really going to do much for me. I've got a Harmonia. Well, actually, I'll tell you about it. It does let me get the Griffo back from the graveyard, but still set 1. I do have the Blackluster Soldier in hand as well, because he was able to search that off of the back of the Skull Archery of Chaos. So depending on what my opponent has, and this is where it gets a little bit risky with Sky Strikers, is that, you know, Fallen on the Virtuous, and if they are sided in Ghost Ogres, expecting this deck as well, can be very, very effective against the Mind Shuffle bit. Starts off with the Widow Anchor, which is pretty good. It will negate the protection effect of the Magician of Dark Chaos. Let that go through, and then we've got the Harpy's Feather Duster, so all my spells and traps are affected. I then chain the effect to try and return the level 7 to the hand, which will be the Magician of Dark Chaos. And it looks like my opponent is shuffling up a Fallen the Virtuous here. So you'd probably definitely want to be utilising the Fallen the Virtuous. Targeting the Mind Shuffle, checking the set card, nothing here. The Mind Shuffle gets destroyed, doesn't resolve. And then they're going to chain the linkage as well. So a lot of premium cards, which is no surprise why Ryan Yu won. The deck's actually just generally really kind of good. So Harpy's Feather Duster resolved, destroying the Ragged Rites. I'm going to use the Griffo here. So the Griffo is going to get me direct access to a Mind Shuffle, which is part of the reason why I didn't use the Mind Shuffle to search. Not to mention there was nothing that I really needed to search directly yet. I might as well do that with the Skull Archfiend, and the Skull Archfiend, again, is of no use if I already have both the Ritual Monsters in direct access. My opponent again has Vision, so Vision leads to Mystical Space Typhoon, which ultimately will lead to basically another out to the Mind Shuffle. So very well piloted by my opponent here. So utilising Zero's effect, gets hit with the Ash. I was like, that Ash is massive. So yeah, that's probably like their biggest weak spot, is if you Ash the Zero. If they decide to use that effect there with no additional follow-up, they're in big trouble. So now just waiting to see what my opponent can do here. So it looks like we're moving to the end phase. We're going to set the Fallen and the Virtuous. Now I've got a couple of different options here. And they've played this very well. If I activate the Mind Shuffle now, they can chain Mystical Space Typhoon from the hand because it's still in their turn, and then they'll destroy the Mind Shuffle, and then both my Mind Shuffles in the graveyard. But they've also got the Fallen and the Virtuous. So all I need to do is the Fallen and the Virtuous can't get rid of my Mind Shuffle if I get the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos to the field. So we're going to do that first. We're going to add the Ritual spell back from the graveyard. We're going to grab us back that Griffo because the Griffo is just so powerful. Just confirm my opponent of what my kind of intentions are here. We get that. We activate the Ritual Light and Darkness. Is there a way to stop this? We know that the set card is Fallen the Virtuous. We're going to use the Griffo. We're going to get our Magician, and the Magician is now going to let us target one of the spells in the graveyard. I'm then going to use the effect to target the Fallen the Virtuous. I probably should have resolved the Magician first, but we're targeting the Fallen the Virtuous to bait that out, and that's going to send. We're going to chain the Mind Shuffle to return it to the hand so that it can't be destroyed. Bring back the Black Luster, or bring down the Black Luster Soldier. Resolve the Ragged Record. So basically the idea is I got a little bit ahead of myself with the Magician of Black Chaos, basically. But add the record of right back and then destroy it, and then they basically just see the writing on the wall there, so we scoop it up. So very well kind of maintained from my opponent there, to be fair. A lot of quick plays. Now, I think they make me go first. Yeah, so they definitely made me go first with Perulia. So we get the Fallen of the White into rotation, send in Rimbram, we get hit with the Ash Blossom, we get hit with a Perulia, we go with the Ragged Rites, gonna add the Griffo, discard the Griffo, get the Mind Shuffle, and then activate the Mind Shuffle here. This is what I quite like about the deck as well, is it's you don't need to disrupt its consistency that massively in order to get what you need to get. So I was never going to take out the Fallen and the Whites. I was never going to take out some of the, Light and Darkness cards here. So whether I was to go first or second, it didn't make that big of a deal for me, which worked out in my favour. So under Ash, under Perulia, it really kind of comes down to how many draws I want to give my opponent. Trying to remember why I discarded the Magician here. Not the Magician, the Black Luster Soldier. So using the Ritual spell to get them back. Maybe it was off a Mind Shuffle, but then I also did discard the Skull Archfiend. So I'm not sure how that's happened there, or how the Magician ended up in the graveyard. So, not Magician, sorry, the Black Luster. Oh, sorry, I used it as Ritual fodder? Yeah, I probably used it as Ritual fodder. So we're just going to recycle that back into the deck. We put the Ash and we put the Perulia back into the deck because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to clog my opponent up. Like, the Ash isn't that big of a threat in certain scenarios, and giving them back the Perulia, if they draw the Perulia, it's like, okay, cool, you've just got a brick that's not going to help you much. I mean, it still wouldn't be the end of the world because you still activate Perulia here, and then that will make sure they get a draw if I do tend to use Mind Shuffle. But I can also recycle that as well. So in Mind Shuffle here, we're going to use it to add the Magician of, the Black Luster Soldier, discard the Celtic Mystic, activate Desires, chain Forbidden Droplet, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Forbidden Droplet doesn't target, so paying the cost here. And this is a bit of a misplay on their behalf. They completely forgot that the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos is unaffected. So I was like, yeah, you're cool. You can't negate him because he can't be targeted. He's only affected if he gets targeted. So it's like, okay, well, we'll get rid of the Summon Scroll of Archfiend. I'm like, okay, cool. Activate the Widow Anchor. I'm assuming that was what was drawn off of the Desires here. Target the Magician. I'm like, you must have like a Fallen Virtuous or a Ghost Ogre. Like, I can't afford like to not believe you have that. So we use that, and as soon as I bring back that Mystical Space Typhoon, I'm like, oh yeah, why every time? And that's just kind of what makes this like a fairly awkward matchup. Plenty of spells in the graveyard, so that engage is going to search and draw if it resolves. We know the one card in my hand is the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos, so only one set unknown from myself here. No Ash this particular time, so, and a lot of draw power now being presented. It's really going to come down to what gets banished off that Pot of Desires, or what did get banished off the Pot of Desires. Can make it a little bit awkward. Oh, there's two cards in my hand, but I'm pretty sure we know both of them. I'm pretty sure both of them are the Ritual Monsters, so they're not going to do nothing in this current situation, but still, holding the own. Normal Summon the Ray, classic. I wonder if it's a second Mind Shuffle. It could be. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly if it was a Mind Shuffle or not, but it would make sense if it was. I'm not going to lie. Go Kagari. Kagari going to add back the engage. Yeah, not a lot can be done here. Just trying to be a bit defensive. Being a bit like reserved if there is something there, of course. So actually becomes a really good duel. It plays around Lemnis Gate as well, because Lemnis Gate doesn't target. So it's like, yay! Finally, you don't target and my stuff's unaffected. Let's go! So just kind of confirming that if the Skull Archfiend of Chaos goes to the graveyard, it's like, yeah, it just has to go to the graveyard. But I have to be able to send the ritual spell, and I can't do that because I'm pretty sure both are in the graveyard. So still in the battle phase linkage here. That's going to attempt to send the Kagari, and I'm like, well, if I get rid of the Kagari, they then have to send another card. But I mean, they've got plenty of advantage to do that anyway, so it's not really worth doing anything. So still in the battle phase, going into 0. No effect on the 0 here, I guess, because we want to try and get damage off. So we destroy the Fallen of the White Dragon. Just checking if there is any graveyard effects that need to or can be triggered at this particular point here. Nada. So my opponent continues to go. This is usually like the OTK play, because you would like to not have to attack through 2 monsters, but we're going to go from there. So 0 is going to tag itself out. And unfortunately, I just don't think they have enough for game. So Ray and Rose at 3,000 damage. That's the first damage I've taken. I'm like, yep, cool, absolutely fine. And then technically you could Ray if you still wanted to in the battle phase just to get a little bit more damage. But the most you're going to be able to get is like 1,500 off Suzuku. And then you've got your 2 monsters stuck in your extra monster zone. In the main monster zone. So you might as well go main phase 2. Go, I don't believe that's Camellia. I think that's Azalea. Target the other set card on the field. It's Fallen the Virtuous, so we're going to chain the Fallen the Virtuous, we're going to send the Albion, we're going to destroy, or attempt to destroy, the Azalea. It still brings the Ray back in rotation, but it's better to use the Fallen the Virtuous than let it go, because at least you can then deck thin. So we leave the Ray on the field, we choose not to go into Suzuku, so I can only imagine we've gone through all of our targets. We use the Albion, and we're still in the end phase, so we're going to use our Rinbrim to bring back the Fallen of the White. Fallen of the White's going to get us the Darkest Ecclesia. And I think I think it's Lubellion is the only other target I can go, because I'm like, do I use Ecclesia? We're going to use Ecclesia. We're going to go for Fallen of Albaz. Original Fallen of Albaz putting in a decent chunk of work here, not going to lie. So that's going to try and attempt to use the effect. Well, I'm debating whether I use an effect. I must be. No, okay, I don't use the effect. Interesting. So I get rid of the only tuner I have, but this is where I really like the Light and Darkness Ritual deck, because that graveyard resource is quite impressive. So if I can get that Ray to the graveyard, I can recycle that Ray, which is kind of cool. But we add back the Light and Darkness Ritual. We're going to add back either the Celtic Mystic if I want it to be in my normal summon, which is what I do. And then we can normal summon the Celtic Mystic, draw 3, ditch 2. All comes down to if there's any interaction from my opponent and they really don't want me to draw. We'll activate the Light and Darkness Ritual. We'll banish the Griffo from the graveyard. We'll get the Magician. Magician's going to add a spell back from the graveyard, so we're going to add back the Fallen and the Virtuous. Then I've got the ability to target and banish if I want to, so I'm going to target the middle card. My opponent's going to let that be banished. And then still got the Skull Archfiend, but again, you don't really want, like, Ray just tags the effect out and like dodges, I guess, if I try to banish it. So I decide to put back the Griffo, because obviously that's the Light and Darkness monster. And then the 2 Ace monsters, they still have Ray and they still have Azalea, so they can still resolve Lemniscate. And I'm like, well, one of those cards is Lemniscate. I was like, at least if I do it this way, you're only going to be able to return 1 card I control. So put them back to the bottom. And then kind of, I mean, in this scenario, you're looking at like a rank 4 possibility, but don't need to. So we go normal summon of the Celtic Mystic, utilize Celtic Mystic, reveal the hand. So there's a Fallen and the Virtuous, a Ragged Rites. We draw 3, we're going to discard 2 here. So we discard a Fallen and the Virtuous. I believe I drew into the 3rd copy. There's probably no use in going Fallen and the Virtuous to try and destroy the Ray here, because again, it just tags itself out into Kagari or whatnot, and I really don't gain any advantage off the back of that. So we're going to get the Griffo to get us the Mind Shuffle. We've got the Blackluster Soldier, so if I want to, I can switch those around. So we'll go Battle Phase. Is a bit of risk and reward, because obviously if my opponent does utilize the graveyard. So we go Kana to target the Magician of Light and Darkness, return it back to the hand. Is there a response here? There is the Lemniscate. So Lemniscate can pretty much non-target return 1 card. So if we return the Mind Shuffle, it kind of will resolve that effect, which I believe is... I pick it up expecting that's exactly what they're going to do, but still just waiting for them to think if that's the right call, because that returns to hand. Just confirm if it's hand or deck. Yeah, it goes back to the deck. Still enough to kind of clear this field off, though, because yes, the Ray will float back, but as long as I can deal with that Ray float back and get it kept in my opponent's graveyard, I'll be in an okay position. So Albaz over the Kana. Ray effect to come back. It's already used its tag out effect, so it's just, okay, Fallen the White Dragon to deal with that Ray. Then 1400 for the Celtic Mystic, and then 2-2 off of the back. No, not 2-2 off the back Skull, because the Skull's already attacked, I believe. Yeah, so nothing with the Skull. It's really just going to come down to, do I have another effect to get me access to a ritual monster during my opponent's turn? We're going to use the Albaz, and this is a little bit silly of me because I just clog up all my zones, and not a single one of them is a non-tuner. So I'm like, what am I doing with this? Like, my whole field is clogged up. So we use the Ecclesia, the Darkest Dragon, we put that back in the Albion, we get rid of the last set card, and I'm like, okay, well, my opponent's got 2 cards. If none of them can get them access to that Ray, there's not really a lot they can do. And if they do get access to it, I have to hope that the set card I have is going to be useful. So we're going Desires again. Very, very costly. That's 20 cards banished off of Desires here. So I will be amazed if there's much resource left. But again, if you draw the cards you need or you draw the cards you want, you're in an okay position. So let's find out. And we start with Vision. Not bad. We're going to draw 2 more cards as well. Yeez. Get rid of another Vision, which I guess is probably kind of done and dusted with for now. So replenish the hands and knife. Evenly matched is quite painful here. But I'm like, you know what? I don't think there's anything there that I need to keep. I might as well keep the Spell and Trap, because that's the only card that's unknown that can cause my opponent a lot of issues. So evenly matched, pretty decent. So normal summon the Ray, pretty decent, pretty decent. Turning Ray into Kagari. Kagari's effect is going to try and grab that engage. Any interaction to stop that Kagari getting access to that Ray, to that engage. There is an Ash in the hand, actually. So maybe I just make my opponent wait and get into that. There's no battle phase because of evenly matched. We added back the Widow Anchor. We're then going to go into the Prototype. set one card and pass. Now, the Prototype's quite a good card against this deck because it changes their effect. It doesn't actually target them, and they're not unaffected because it manipulates the effect. So we start off with the Lightning Storm. I've only got one set card, so I can either get rid of my opponent's spells or traps, or I can get rid of the monster. We'll get rid of the spell and trap because I know it's a Widow Anchor. We're then going to use the Light and Darkness Ritual to add those back to the hand and the Griffo. Griffo then gets me access to the Mind Shuffle, which I was able to put back during turn number 1 with the Skull Arching of Chaos. Activate the Ritual so that I can get Destruction Protection in play with the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. Now, interestingly enough, my opponent chose not to replace his effect here, so I just banished it. Ray comes back. I guess there was a reason for it, but, you know, activate the Ragged Rights of Records. We're going to grab our Black Chaos finally. Just confirm with the Black Chaos, it does need to banish 2. So my opponent only has 1 on the field. It's doing nothing. Attempt to attack the Ray. The Ray's going to try and tag out. Going to go into Shizuku. I think that's all that is left, and it's just making sure that how much attack stats I'm down. Mind Shuffle. Switch out for the Black Luster. Black Luster will banish it and then attack and, you know, get the damage there, and then my opponent scoops because they've pretty much gone through all their resource. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.